What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for thelines.com. Let's talk a little Monday Night Football. It is the Broncos at the Bills, as we see right here over on our Monday Night Football page. You are sitting 7.5. And listen, this is going to ping pong all the way up to kickoff, it seems, because this was 7 at various books this morning and has turned to 7.5 at various books and has gone back and forth a couple of different times. So you can see anywhere from an expensive 7 to a cheap 7.5. On that, 47.5 is your total. Looks like 47.5. They're going to be the prevailing number here. Maybe even be heading to 48. Looks a little bit like that over here at DraftKings and FanDuel. Scroll down so you can kind of read some of the preview stuff that we've got going on. As always, everything we do absolutely free. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Do appreciate your support here in this one. So let's talk about the interesting part of all of this. And first and foremost, we should say, from an injury standpoint, the Broncos coming off of a bye, nobody even on the injury report at all. No one has any sort of injury designation for this game. The same cannot be said over on the Bills side of things. They're already down some very key contributors on the defensive side of the ball, and Micah Hyde has been ruled out for this game as well. So now you're down your stud linebacker, you're down your stud corner, now you're down your stud safety. So there's just a lot going on the defensive side for this Bills team. And of course, we're always monitoring what's going on with Josh Allen's shoulder. It continues to be listed on the injury report, right shoulder. And then when the final injury report comes out, he has no injury designation. But if you kind of look, since he started popping up on the injury report, he has not been as willing to throw the ball downfield. And when he has been a little bit less accurate. Could be just the circumstances, could be whatever. I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, shoulder shot. All I can say is since he started showing up on the injury report, the numbers do kind of bear out that the deep ball has not really been there for this Bills team. So something for us to kind of pay attention to as we move forward here. So where do we stack up from the Broncos side of things? Because I think this is where this all comes down, right? I mean, if you're getting 7 and a hook, so you're getting the other side of a touchdown with a team, I think you really need to consider that team in the NFL, as long as it's not one of the absolute bottom feeders. And I guess the argument could be made here that you would look at me and say, well, Matt, the Broncos are one of the bottom feeders, right? They are definitely one of the worst teams in the NFL, to which I don't have a ton of pushback if you want to look at full season statistics, right? Like, yes, full season statistics, definitely a team that has been underperforming. That being said, if you start to look at least in somewhat recent performance for this team, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, because they were, as we well know, giving it up just at will. I mean, they were literally one of the 3 worst defenses in all the NFL. I mean, they were just giving it up left and right. But if you go to week 5, there's a little bit of a shift here. And it's not a massive shift, but it's a massive enough shift when you are literally a bottom 2 unit to moving towards the middle of the pack. 18th in EPA per play allowed, as opposed to 30th. Now think about this. Like, I get it. 18th is not lighting the world on fire or anything. But again, when you were one of the absolute worst teams in the NFL, moving towards the middle of the pack is a very, very big deal. And then the other thing that we've talked about several times, if you've listened to any of our podcasts and tried to figure out, what we've been looking at with this Denver team, under the radar, the Denver offense has actually been pretty good. And I know people like to clown on Russell Wilson. I've clowned on Russell Wilson. You probably have. He's been all right this year. He's actually been an upper half quarterback. And by some metrics, he's a top 10, 12 quarterback in the NFL. And, when you start to look at all the deficiencies over on the Buffalo side, that's pretty good to be going to battle against Buffalo with a top 10, 12 quarterback in the NFL. And the other thing that's been interesting about this Denver team too, because it doesn't feel like it. Maybe just the eye test doesn't bear out. But when you look at the stats, it's a completely different story. The rush offense, them running the ball, has actually been very good. Their rush offense success rate for the entire season is 8th overall in the NFL. DVOA has them 12th. It doesn't feel like it for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like their rush offense EPA 11th. in the NFL. I don't know why it didn't feel like they were running the ball as successfully as they were, but they are, and they have been. And so with all of that, you start to see, like, and I'll just leave it here on some of these Josh Allen props if you want to take a look at those. You look at a Buffalo defense that actually is kind of like bottom half of the NFL in rush defense. Now that they've gone to Javonte Williams, Denver has. Is that something that they can exploit? What if they get ahead in this game? Could they actually like kind of milk the clock and ice it down? Like, these are all things that you have to consider, I think, when we're talking about a 7.5 point spread. I mean, other side of a touchdown is just very big in the NFL. And if you look at Buffalo's season-long numbers on the offensive side, it's still really good, right? They still stand out a ton. And I think that their recent performance, however, starts to give you at least a little bit of pause about the offense. And mainly because you start to look and you say, hey, where does the secondary option come in for this team? And that's what we're really trying to figure out, right? Like, because if teams can just eliminate Steph Diggs, then is Dalton Kincaid good enough to just be the dude? Because we know what Gabe Davis is. Gabe Davis is just not going to be a consistent performer. He's going to have big games every 3 or 4 games, but he's just not a consistent performer. He's not one of those guys. I think the touchdown's too much. I took the 7.5. To me, I think Russell Wilson and this team also just presents enough talent on the offensive side of the ball that even if they're down, right? Like, even if they are down 14, you got to think about this. They could be down 14 points in the fourth quarter, and your ticket at 7.5 is still live, right? And to me, with Russ not playing all that bad, and with having Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and having some weapons and Javonte Williams against a run defense that's been a bottom half rush defense for the entire season, I don't think you're dead holding 7.5. Like, I think it would have to be a very weird game state for you to be dead. And it very well could get there. It is on the road. Maybe they turn the ball over a couple of times. And if they turn the ball over a couple of times, yeah, this thing could get out of hand. But I think the more likely scenario is that it plays fairly close. And not only play fairly close, I think Denver might even challenge to win this thing, but I'm not willing to go there from a money line perspective. I don't like the total sitting at 47.5, mainly because you can draw a line to an over and an under here. And I just basically did that, right? Which is this Denver offense is actually kind of under the radar good. This Buffalo defense is now way worse than we thought they were at the beginning of the season with all the injuries that they're having to deal with. So Buffalo is able to score. Denver's able to score, and then Buffalo, of course, Buffalo's not going to get shut down, right? I mean, like, Buffalo's not going to get shut out or anything like that. And so, despite the fact that Denver's defense has played better since week 5, they're not going to just completely shut down the team. So there's the path to the over. The path to the under, it's like I said, I mean, what if Denver actually finds himself up 10 points in this game at some point, and then it's just like run over and over and over again, putting together these 5-6 minute drives that are just clock killers and things. And like, you're sitting there holding that over ticket and you're going like, just freaking do something. So I don't like that. I'm going to go ahead and take a pass on that. I do like a couple of props though. And we can go, I say this all the time, right? Like, go to the homepage, click on the prop tool, make sure you're getting the best number, make sure you're getting the best line out there. The other one I do have in my account, and that's, like I said, he's become the bell cow here, Javonte Williams. And so with that, I do like him in a couple of different ways. I don't think the touches are going to get siphoned away from him near as much. So I do like the over on the 13.5 carries for Javonte Williams. And then, to a lesser extent, the rush yards as well. I think you could put that in a same game parlay because obviously very correlated. If he's getting the bell cow work, then something that you could put into a same game parlay in this game as well, right? With the carries and the rush yardage. So do like that from him a pretty good bit in this, because if you do look, like I said, the one very glaring weakness all season long, yes, now the pass defense is being able to get had from a Buffalo side of things, but the run defense has just not been there all year long. So that's actually something that it isn't even an injury type deal. It just hasn't really been there. So As long as Javonte Williams is going to be continuing to get all of the snaps and basically all the carries there, I do like him over on the attempts and then over on the rush yards as well. One of the other things that I found to be fairly interesting, and like I said, like I think teams are going into this going, hey, look, you're just not going to beat us with Steph Diggs. Steph's going to get his. Steph Diggs is going to get his, but he's going to get a ton of attention. And I think everyone thinks then that the secondary option is just going to immediately be Dawson Knox. And it was immediately going to be Kincaid, but like Dalton Kincaid, yes, good secondary option, but if you look, guys, Khalil Shakir is a guy that has now started to play about 3/4 of the snaps for this team. And so he is out there a ton, right? And so if you kind of take a look, this is a dude that's now getting about 4 or 5 targets a game. And if that role continues to get a little bit bigger, and now we're talking maybe even 6, 7 targets in a game, 35.5 yards is just not, it's just not enough, right? I mean, this should be in the 40s if that's going to be the case. And so I'm going to take this is not the full type unit bet or anything. This is more of a, let's take a little bit of a snort on this before maybe the books catch up to this guy's increased role. But I think Khalil Shakir is a little undervalued here at 35.5. I have him closer to 43, and that seems to be at least a bettable edge for me, just maybe not a full type deal. So we're taking the points with the Broncos, Javonte Williams props, and like I said, a little bit here on Khalil Shakir. Of course, Over the Lines, everything we do, absolutely free, guys. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below on this page. You can also go up here, top right-hand corner. That's the Discord. Discord is talking about everything, every sport, all season long. So go in, get in there. That is absolutely free as well. Good luck on all your Monday Night Football bets.